Welcome to Fear and Greed, the week ahead. I'm Sean Aylmer, and with Stephen Koukoulas taking a well-earned break. Well, he said it was well-earned. I'm not so sure myself. I'm joined instead by the great Cherelle Murphy, Chief Economist at EY and a great supporter of our show. Cherelle, good morning.
Good morning, Sean. Yes, the cook gets a holiday in Europe and I get an extra early Monday morning. Lucky me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You are the winner. There's plenty coming up during the next few days, but just quickly, the Reserve Bank board minutes last week, we didn't expect much from them, but perhaps once they came out, everyone thought, wow, the Reserve Bank really is worried about the economy growing too fast.
Certainly, that's what it looked like, didn't it? They were definitely a bit more hawkish, I think, than we had expected. And they seemed to be a little closer to pressing the button to a rate hike than perhaps we had expected too. They're clearly concerned about that gap between supply and demand, in the sense that demand isn't kind of falling fast enough to meet supply, which has been constrained by a number of factors, including low productivity. So it does seem that they were close. But of course, when they were meeting, and we saw this in the minutes, that was when we had all the volatility in the markets. And so I think that's probably one of the factors which caused them to go, hang on a sec, let's just see how this unfolds before we get too carried away. Probably a good thing they did, because, that volatility did settle down.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's all about inflation, still the main game. And this week we have the monthly CPI figure out. What do you think of these monthly figures generally, and what do you think this week's will tell us?
It can be a bit confusing, Sean, actually, because each month kind of effectively is measuring different things. And so you don't really get a like-for-like comparison, which means that their usefulness in gauging inflation across the economy as a whole is really quite limited. And of course, it's made even harder by the fact that even really tiny little movements in the CPI can have big implications for policy. So as Michelle Bullock's been saying for quite some time, she's really looking forward to getting that comprehensive picture. But nevertheless, we and all the markets, all those participants in the markets, will be looking really closely at those July numbers to see what's happening with the CPI, which you'll remember in the June quarter was showing a headline rate of 3.8%.
Okay. Do you think the trend is down, or do you think it's flatlined? Please don't say it's going up.
No, I think it is coming down. It's just the speed at which it is coming down, which is clearly the point of concern for the Reserve Bank as well. But look, it clearly we're getting inflation in some categories actually falling. There's some goods which are, neatly in that Reserve Bank's 2 to 3% target band, but unfortunately not enough goods and services are, including a lot of the domestically generated services, and that's the real crux of the problem.
Okay. There's also capital expenditure figures this week. They're kind of good for getting an insight on how business is going.
That's right. So these ones probably the most complicated data to read in the markets, because you get not only an actual investment number for CapEx, but you also get the expectations number for the coming year.
Now, I've got to tell a story here, Cherelle. Cherelle and I used to sit next to each other for a brief period. Cherelle worked at the Australian Financial Review, and I sat next to her. And I remember once CapEx figures coming out and just turning around and saying, "What the hell do these mean?" And you were very generous. You explained them to me very nicely and slowly. You did. And I just remember, I will always thank you for that, Cherelle, because they are hard to understand.
They are quite tricky, and we didn't have the safe word back then, Sean. So what were we to do?
So true.
This one will contain the third estimate given by firms as to how much they're going to spend in the 24-25 year. And the good news is that these numbers have kind of been looking reasonably okay. They're not super strong, but when we look at what firms are saying, particularly non-mining firms, about what they're going to spend on buildings and structures, machinery and equipment, it's looking all right. So I guess we'll be hoping that continues in these figures, because, as you know, other parts of the economy, including the consumer, are very weak. So, we like to see a bit of activity here, which is kind of keeping the economy motoring along.
And retail trade figures this week as well?
Yes, retail trade figures for July. Now, these actually were quite strong in June, although the ABS did suggest that a lot of that was due to discounting activity in the month. So again, we'll be kind of looking at that to see whether or not that continues. I suspect that with July being the first month of the tax cuts, you might actually see something reasonable. People starting to see their real wages move up again. That's something that is kind of a bit of a reversal from recent times. Those factors could actually lead to hopefully a small positive number there. But certainly if we get a negative, that's not going to be a good indication that households are coping very well, I guess, with the continued tightness of the economy due to the Reserve Bank's high rate on the cash rate.
Okay, so it's an exciting week coming up, Cherelle, but of course not as exciting as the following week, because the following week is GDP, which people like you must love. GDP days, National Accounts Days.
Oh, look, I wait for these once every 3 months. It's incredibly exciting. I don't know if I'm quite as excited as the cook, though.
No one's as excited as the cook.
Practically frothing at the moment, isn't it?
We'll talk to you about that in 7 days, Cherelle. Enjoy your week.
Thank you, Sean, and have a great week too.
That was Cherelle Murphy, Chief Economist at EY. I'm Sean Aylmer, and this is Fear and Greed, the week ahead.